Hey everybody! Hope everybody's up. Yeah, everybody. Sorry, it's just me tonight. Amy already went to bed, so we'll see if anybody wants to come on. Let me get this StreamYard link ready. We'll get that in. Um, yeah, I'm not really going to do much of a formal intro, guys. Sorry. We're kind of dispensing a little bit with the formalities tonight as our main icon of the channel, the wonderful Amy Newman, is slaved by the capitalist system and is in bed, about to get up and go to work in the morning, earn a paycheck like we all have to do to survive. But yeah, she'll be back later in the week, probably definitely by Sunday. You guys all know she streams those shows on Sunday with Randolph or with Tom Jump. But I hope a few of you guys like the debate. I realize it's kind of a different topic than the ones we normally engage with. It's kind of one that puts me a little bit in the center, but it's fine. I don't mind taking it from both sides. It's fun. And yeah, we'll get something set up with Donnie SFT is already talking about another debate with Ken Hoven coming up in the future. Why not? People love those. I love those. But yeah, tonight's debate. So it was overall pretty good. I liked it. I thought Praise he was fine to debate with. There's just so much to this topic. You'll never actually get to bring up all the points that you want to bring up in that kind of time frame. But yeah, Amy was kidnapped by the aliens. Yeah. Adam Smith, other capitalist aliens from another dimension came and took our beloved Amy Newman away. But so you're stuck with me tonight. I'm sorry. That's all that we have for you. But hopefully you guys watch the debate, learn something. I realize probably most of you guys won't agree with my position either, but the position of demons is just really silly to me. Using demons as an excuse for things, as an explanation, has unfortunately been a hallmark of humanity. It's been something that's gone on for a long time, and it's never ever really never benefited humanity. We used to blame demons and devils for all sorts of ills, but yeah, actually always turned out there was a normal, natural explanation to things. You don't need to invoke demons when you have the natural world. And on this question, we know that life is possible to arise in the universe. We exist. Therefore, if it can happen here, it can happen in other places. And it can happen in other places, at least theoretically possible. They could become intelligent and decide to come here and interact with us. Way more plausible than the whole God thing and the idea of a God. The idea of a God is ridiculous enough, but in this case, the idea of a demons, Satan, it really is one of the most absurd prospects in Christianity, if you really look at it. Why does an omnipotent being have enemies, have an adversary? And who would sign up for that job? That's pretty silly, pretty ridiculous if you think about it. An omnipotent being, he knows everything, he has all power, all knowledge. You can never kill him, you could never depose him, you could never even make him upset. Well, I mean, you can make him upset, but he really shouldn't be upset. You can't do anything to him other than decline to worship him. But as Aaron Ross said, any being who would demand to be worshipped does not deserve to be worshipped. Be he alien, extraterrestrial, human, deity, whatever. If they're forcing you to worship them, that's somebody you should not be worshiping. In this case, yeah, and yeah, why would anybody want to launch an insurrection against an omnipotent God? Who would sign up for that? Would it work? Could it work? No. It would be damned to failure. It would never work. Did they not know God was omnipotent? Did they not get that memo? But yeah, Command Cyborg. This is not going to be a very long after show in all probability. But yeah, I would love to hear feedback. We'll be back later in the week, maybe, because I want to get Amy's take on the debate. Obviously, she is much more of a traditionalist skeptic than I am. She takes a more scientific approach, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that in this subject, there's been so much data that's been concealed from the scientific community. I mean, but the scientists are not going to speculate. They're not going to imagine or think about what data they can't see might say. They just can't see it, so it might as well, to them, might as well not exist. Yeah, they don't have a dog in the fight. It's okay. They don't care why data is being hidden, suppressed, or what the motives are, what it might say, what it might be. They don't have it, so it doesn't matter. But looking at it from a more realistic standpoint, from a more human-based, not necessarily scientific-based perspective, so they've been looking at this phenomena for 80 years, since the 1940s at least, that we know of verifiably. And they've been saying they've had numerous panels, commissions that have looked into it, and they always say, yeah, we don't know. We're not sure. We'll get back to you on it. There's definitely something there. We don't know what it is. When we figure it out, we'll let you know. Then they came out and said, actually, we don't know, but it's not a threat, so we're not going to look into it anymore. Then they said they stopped looking into it, but they really didn't. They kept looking into it. They didn't stop. They told everybody they stopped. And now here they are again. They've got to acknowledge it. Yeah, we have been looking into it. Here's some videos. Here's some pictures. It doesn't really give us a lot of information. It's hard to say. It's not definitive, very vague. Doesn't tell us exactly what we're dealing with. But, yeah, we just don't know yet. We'll figure it out and let you know. But then they say, well, what about this other data that you have, these other videos and photographs and documents? Well, no, you can't see those. Well, why can't we see those? It would be a grave threat to national security if we let you see that. We can't. Okay, it is a grave threat to national security if you see those. But you guys have seen them, right? Well, yeah, we've seen them, and you still don't know what's going on with it. Yeah, we don't know. We know as much as we're telling you, but if you guys have seen it and doesn't give you any more information than what you're releasing, why can't we see it? No, can't see it. I'm sorry. National security. Seems like it would seem to be that there's a difference between what they will release and what they won't release. And if what they will release, they're okay with us having, is vague and very hard to decipher, maybe, just maybe, what they're not releasing is something a little bit different. Give you a little bit more information about that topic. Maybe, yeah. But that's not a scientific case. The scientists don't care. They just want to see the data. So I understand why the scientific community is reluctant, very hesitant, very skeptical. The default position in science is to doubt. So you doubt everything until there's evidence, and the fact that they're not being given the evidence is they don't care. They still don't have it. It's not like an issue where we have like the Christians are saying we don't have there used to be these giants, these Nephilim, these 20-foot tall humans, and the evidence is being suppressed, so you won't believe in the Bible. Smithsonian, they're all in on it. Archaeologists, they all know that it's real, but they don't want people to believe in the Bible, so they're concealing it all. Well, in this case, we don't have to just make that claim. They admit, yeah, we have lots of data on this that we will not let you see. That's not in dispute. And people will say, well, yeah, of course the government keeps things secret. Of course. Well, yeah, they have to keep some things secret, but they're also claiming they don't know what's going on. And if they don't know what's going on and what they have doesn't illuminate them, doesn't give them that information, then Why can't we see it? It's we have a right to have access to information. If you come back in, I'll let you in, Romansky. But we have a right to have access to information. If this is a question of scientific inquiry, of scientific discovery, that if we are being interacted with some form of intelligence that we can't quantify, we don't have awareness of yet, that's something we all need to be presented with and interact with, and we can handle it. We're big boys. We are big boys. We can handle it. Just let us know. Let us see the data. Let the wider scientific community look at the data. Why are just a small sliver of scientists have access to this? And yeah, they're not able to figure out what's going on, but maybe if we let the broader scientific community look into it, maybe we could figure out a little bit more, answer some of these questions, and get someplace, get an answer. If there's nothing there, there's nothing there. Then just let us see it, then we'll know. But all the other explanations that we've been given really just don't seem to be very satisfying in any way. Beamsy says there's a third option, the words of Monty Python. Pray that there's intelligent life somewhere up in space because it's bigger, because it's bugger all down on Earth. Yeah. Game into that, BMC. Thank you. Yes. That's like a joke Ken Hovind makes. Oh, you think there's intelligent life out there? And I taught high school science. I'll tell you there's barely intelligent life down here. Yeah. And if there are intelligent beings interacting with this planet right now, if what we're seeing, if that's the truth of it, they've got to be much more advanced than we are, much more advanced. And the reason I say, the reason this is so important is like look at the world that we live in, the challenges that we face as a race, as a world, as a society, and we right now we're running up against a wall with climate change. We can't take the necessary steps to avert it because it would destroy our economy. So we just keep kicking that can down that road. But I'm going to tell you, there's going to be a point where you're going to be kicking up against a wall. And what's going to happen then? It's going to be even worse than it would be had we addressed it 20 years ago. But everybody was making money. The Wall Street was making money. The stocks were great. We didn't address it. And it doesn't look like we're going to be. There's no political will to do that. If we had access to technology, to greater abilities than what we have now, we could actually reverse climate change. We could do these things. But there's so many people afraid about it, afraid that it's demons, afraid that it's Satan. And look, most of us, we're from first world, we're from developed nations. And we all have a relatively comfortable standard of living, relatively speaking. And there's billions of people in the world that live in poverty, hopeless poverty. Billions of people that get up every day and work for barely enough to survive on, barely enough to live on. And it's not that we're better than these people. It's not that we're smarter, that we work harder than them, or that for some reason we're more deserving of our lifestyle. It's just a roll of the dice of history that we ended up in this position, they ended up in their position. And, if we were to give people in the developing world anything even close to a Western standard of living, the entire system would implode overnight. It would collapse on its own weight. We couldn't afford to buy the products we have to maintain our lifestyle. So because of that, billions of people have to live in poverty. They have to spend their entire life working for very little, barely enough to get by on. And that's a sad reality. We're unfortunately beneficiaries of that. Most of us wouldn't like to give up our lifestyle. One of the biggest components to the cost of living worldwide is energy, the cost of energy. It affects everything. It's very expensive to get energy, to drill for fossil fuels, to refine it. It's pollution, causes lots of problems, causes health issues. It's a big issue, and then you have to move stuff around the world using these fossil fuels, using even a lot of electricity is made using fossil fuels. You can't even get away from it. It's so hard to even be green because a lot of the electricity is made. You may have your hybrid car, your fully electric car, but you're plugging it in to an outlet that's connected to a fossil fuel plant, where it's natural gas or coal or what have you, whatever fossil fuels that we're using. And the ability things seem to be running on, and even if they're not alien, even if they're just really advanced technology that's been concealed from us, we have a right to have access to that. These governments, they're supposed to work for the people, not for their own propitiation, not for themselves, not for their own devices. They're supposed to work for the people as a whole, the representative. But a group of them has gotten this technology, and they are using it for their own device, for themselves. They're not using it for the benefit of humanity. Like they said in the movie The Rocketeer, they want to turn anything into a weapon, anything they can weaponize. And if there are benevolent aliens out there, I imagine they'd be a little reluctant to give us certain pieces of technology, wondering what we would do with it. Would we weaponize it? And in a lot of cases, yeah, we would. We would weaponize it. If anyone wants to come on, I'll get you on right away. The link, I could send that out there again. But any opinions for or against, let me know. But yeah, we want this desire to turn everything into a weapon, to make everything about killing. And is there a better way forward? I hope so. I think that there is. I truly hope that there is, and I think that eventually we'll get there. But this is unfortunately the rut that we're stuck in with a lot of this old thinking based upon religion. Yeah, nuclear could save the world if done correctly, but even then, we have a huge problem with storing the nuclear waste. Nobody wants it stored where they are at. The Yucca Mountain plan, they can't actually. Nobody actually wants the stuff, and then how do you maintain it and cordon it off for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years that stuff is going to be toxic and hostile for? I can see nuclear in a lot of ways has certain advantages over fossil fuels and other things, but it's not perfect. It's not going to get us to where we need it. It's not going to get us to Mars or to another solar system. It's not going to get us there. But it's what we have right now. But as I said in my debate, we're seeing these craft, even the Pentagon is conceding to them. These flying metallic orbs that we're seeing flying through our war zones don't have any means of propulsion that we're aware of, that we're capable of doing. Seem to be running off anti-gravity. Who's making those things? Who's running those things? They don't seem to be running off any technology that we have access to, at least. So who's doing it? Who's building them? The United States government? I don't think so. I really doubt it, that they have that kind of technology. The CIA uses the U-2 spy plane from the 1950s. CIA uses 1950s spy planes to do work. You think they have anti-gravity technology somewhere? I tend to doubt it. Look at our planes. Look at the F-35. Compare that to the F-16 or the F-22 and realize, look at it side by side. You'll see some differences, but they're basically largely the same. And that cost about $2 trillion almost of tech. $2 trillion to go from the F-16, F-22 to the F-35. And by the way, the F-35 is not better all around than the prior craft. We're still making $2 trillion, and we're making compromises. We're getting maybe some more electronic warfare gadgets, but we're giving up certain things like maybe maneuverability, speed, service ceiling. They don't have all the same capabilities. We're spending trillions of dollars, and we're having to make compromises. And I really don't think that we have anti-gravity technology anywhere in some black project that is human developed. And technology doesn't just come out of nowhere. Where's the precursors to it? Where's the gradual evolution of technology that we see in other fields? You don't just go from not to having anti-gravity orbs flying around. And we're seeing them in war zones, very controlled airspace, where the military is observing with drones, which is, by the way, what humans use. We spend a lot of money on drones, spend quite a lot of money on drones. Drones are used in other countries. Russia, China, I mean, Russia has a barely serviceable aircraft carrier. Russia is struggling to hold 15% of the Ukraine, a country that's many times smaller than them, and they're struggling to hold on to that piece of it. You think in their back pocket they've got this technology that is just so far and away above ours that we can't make heads or tails of it. Communist China, they're not much better ahead. They've been modernizing their army a little bit, but they are not anywhere near battlefield ready. The likelihood that they've eclipsed us on these fields by that much is really very unlikely. But I guess they would consider the skeptic position is that the aliens is always the least likely, so one of these other scenarios is always more likely because, well, hey, at least we know there's a China, so the fact maybe they've developed something that's way ahead of us, still more likely than aliens. I don't know. I understand that way of thinking, but it doesn't seem like it's it doesn't seem like that's where this is going. Why would it be so secretive? If this was technology from another country, that they would be able to release it. They would be able to let us know. You could look up pictures of enemy Russian and Chinese aircraft all the time. You can find them on Google. They're not secret. You can find pictures of Chinese spy balloons on Google, which is human-based technology that China uses to spy, to surveil America. If they've got these orbs, these magic flying anti-gravity orbs, why are they sending balloons over America? And then come to think of it, then why are we shooting down balloons? And then we're saying we shot down another unidentified object. What else did we shoot down? Well, they're not saying. They won't come out and tell us, but we have pretty clear pictures of those balloons. And there was something else they shot down that was not one of those balloons, but we can't see that picture. We can't look at that. What's going on here? Why such secrecy if there really is nothing here? It really seems like they're going through quite a great effort to conceal something, to keep information from us, to prevent us from finding out what's going on. If it's all prosaic, if it's all regular stuff, it really doesn't seem like they'd go through all that trouble. Black projects, yeah, we know that they do black projects. They have them. They don't have trillions of dollars worth of them, though. Not trillions of dollars. There's not that much wiggle room in the budget for anything else like that. Other options, I guess, I've heard could be that you could have another civilization on the planet that's concealed itself from us. I guess that's a vague possibility. I don't know. They could be sent from another time. This is all just conjecture. We don't really know what's going on. But what we do have to at least acknowledge is that there is something. There is something going on. One of the slides that I showed the Pentagon showing a picture from one of their drones of one of these orbs flying through a war zone in Syria, kind of a area ground they'd like to keep secure. They're fighting down there, and coming right through this thing is one of these orbs, right through a war zone, and it says right there, but it's not aliens. Well, I mean, why are they saying that? They don't know what it is, right? Well, what they mean is it doesn't say aliens on it, so therefore they have no reason to believe that it's alien. No reason to believe it's alien. So that's what they're saying. But it's at least one of the possibilities that we need to consider is that it is entirely likely that there are. I think most people accept the idea that there's other life out there. Now, are they here? Have they got here? Could they be here? That's another question that requires a few more layers. But I think the fact that we're here, we exist, at least gets us across the threshold that life can exist in the universe. Life can exist. We know that for sure. But we have no information, no reason to believe in deities, magical demons, or anything like that. We have no basis for that. So right off the bat, biological life seems to be much more of a likely contender for an explanation. We have no knowledge of a god, no knowledge of demons, devils, deities of any kind. Is it so inconceivable to believe that another race of beings on another planet could have came here? It's not inconceivable. And it appears to be what's happening. It's at least one of the plausible scenarios. Obviously, there's so much data, there's so much information we haven't seen, we don't have access to be able to make a fully informed decision. I think huge part of this is transparency, disclosure. We want to see what they have. We want to see what's going on. And if they were more open about it, then people would probably be more trusting of it. But this secrecy for its own sake, of keeping things secret just because, or that being the default position, really needs to stop. Because here in the United States, we have, and I think most developed worlds have, a concept called civilian control of the military. Well, President, the Defense Department are not military. They're not enlisted members or commissioned in the military, but they oversee the military. The military answers to civilians. But we've got elements of the military that have gone rogue, that do not recognize that do not trust the civilian leadership for whatever reason, that have decided to go rogue. As I said in the debate, I think part of that was that in the 1940s, going into the Cold War, just out of World War II, there was a decision was made to coalesce the country around Christianity as a unifying force to hold Americans together. They put "In God We Trust" on the money. They put "Under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance. You had staff-led prayer in public schools, specifically Christian prayers. I think the decision was made that anything that would undermine that was a threat to national security, to cohesion, that would undermine Christianity. And to be clear, existence of aliens would not defeat Christianity. Not that it's not problematic, it is. But we had a decision that was made to conceal this, to keep this from the public, to not let us know what's going on, for our own good. And to me, that really bothers me. Obviously, there are certain things governments have to keep secret. We understand that. There are certain information that just has to be secret. We're okay with that. Not on questions like this. Not on the broad question of, are we alone? Are we alone in the universe, in the galaxy even? And what are these things flying through our airspace that we have spent a long time looking at, and we still can't tell you what they are? It's not like these things it's nebulous, or it's something that might not. They're really there. They're actually there. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean. I think a lot of they just treat it like it's an anomaly, so we don't really have to explain it, or we just don't know, which is not a bad answer. We just don't know. But when all the other reasonable answers or explanations have been ruled out or seem very unlikely, we have to be able to consider something else. And it really seems that that's the case. There is not any answer for these craft and the capabilities that they display. Commander David Fravor said he saw the Nimitz incident 2004. He went up. They were doing training mission. in the Pacific Ocean, and they called a stop to the training mission. And they said, hey, we need you guys to check these things out. We've been seeing them on radar for about a week all over the place. And so they go out there and they see what he described as a black metallic sphere inside of a clear, or a black metallic cube inside of a clear sphere. What is that? What the hell is that flying through a military exercise? You think it's secret military technology? They're going to fly it right through a military exercise. They have test ranges for that. They don't fly right through a military exercise. And by the way, we don't have metallic spheres that fly, at least not anything our technology based. These things were seen at 80,000 feet, twice as high as any birds fly. Birds don't fly that high. I have a few very expensive weather balloons that go that high, but these things also go right down to near sea level very rapidly. Weather balloons don't do that. These things also have the capability of going under the water, traveling faster than any submarine we have by a lot. Weather balloons don't do that. Aircraft don't do that. We don't have those capabilities. And then re-emerging and darting off way faster, much faster than the planes could track, as if being here and then just being gone instantly, almost. Rapid acceleration. And then appearing less than a minute later, some 60 miles away at their rendezvous point. This is where these craft were going. So it's like this UAP is telling them, like, yeah, I know where you're going. We've been watching you. I know what the capabilities of your aircraft are, far exceed those. Don't mess with us. Don't mess with us. You guys have nothing on us. I mean, it seems like they're demonstrating the capabilities of what they have. Seems like why they went to and shut off our nuclear missiles. Why would demons shut off nuclear missiles? They wouldn't. Why would these beings? Well, they want to let us know that, hey, don't even try that. We can turn these things off at will. Don't even think about it. Because they would actually probably like us not to launch nuclear weapons. If that was an adversary, like if that was the Soviet Union, and they had the ability to turn our nukes off in the 1960s, there's a good chance we wouldn't be here right now. We're only here. We avoided nuclear war during the Cold War because a concept called mutually assured destruction, MAD. That was to say that, well, the Soviets could launch their missiles first before us, but we would still pick them up on radar 30, 40 minutes before they land. So we would be able to launch ours in retaliation before theirs hit. So they could devastate most of the major population centers in America. That they could do that, but we can also do the same to them. We're both going to destroy each other, so don't even start. And that's what kept the world out of nuclear war. If the Soviets had the power to turn ours off, I don't know what would have happened. We might not be here. Obviously, the Soviets didn't have that power. In the 1960s, we were already pulling ahead of them in the space race. We were getting ready to land on the moon. They could read the writing off. They didn't have that technology. Yeah, they got satellites up ahead of us, but this is a whole different kind of thing than just orbiting a satellite. These craft that we're seeing outside of these Air Force missile silos. And that's another concept that you have to realize with these UAPs. The capabilities that they're demonstrating today are very similar to what we saw in the 1940s. So it has not been a gradual evolution of technology with them getting faster and better. They've always had these capabilities. They've always been like this. So it might be crazy to think that China or Russia has this technology today, but back in the 1950s, 40s, no, that is just when jet propulsion was in its infancy, that they had anti-gravity. No, it's not within the cards. It's not within the realm of reason. This is another power. This is technology from another source. And the Germans, yeah, well, we had, as I pointed out during the debate, the the Foo Fighters, World War II, these strange objects that our Allied pilots would see following our planes. They never took any of them down, but they were always there, and we always thought it was some type of German weapon or warning system. And come to find out, at the end of the war, the German pilots were seeing them too. They thought the same thing. These are Allied weapons or an Allied warning system, whatever. And we still have no idea what these things were flying in the sky in the 1940s. Pilots have seen things in the sky for pretty much as long as things have been flying. Commercial pilots see things from time to time. Doesn't it seem our military seems to be running into these things a lot more? Now, why is that? That these things seem to be keenly interested in our military capabilities, in our military craft, our military ships, our military missiles, procedures, much more so than other things. And if they were demonic, if these things were super spiritual in nature, it would seem like their focus would not be militarily, because our military doesn't have anything that can take out a demon. It would seem like they would be going after the Christian church, trying to hamper the church's operation of worshiping God and preaching the gospel. They don't seem to care what the church is doing, at least these objects in the sky. Now, what Praise was talking about with the demonic possession and these abduction stories, those are a little different, because those are very hard to verify. Those are just claims that at least a lot of these things, what I'm talking about, have verifiable evidence. You can look in the sky, you can see them, other people can look, see that object. It's probably something there, right? And by the way, they show up on multiple platforms of sensor systems. So they show up on radar, they show up on infrared. You pilots go up and see them. It really looks like there is something there. And by the way, not just the American military. There's like a meme going around that like, oh, why is this all Americans? Like, the idea is that this is just a quirky American thing, and the rest of the world is just way too intellectual to take any of this seriously, and this is just something silly Americans indulge in. But this thing has been encountered by militaries all over the world. You see videos from Mexico, Brazil, Turkey, Russia. Soviets have in their archives lots of stories about encounters with these things. And Soviets were a atheistic base. They were not prone to accepting things, spiritual type things. That was not up their alley, but they ran into these things. Militaries all over the world encounter these things. And I mean, do the American military run into it more than others? Well, I mean, maybe. We are the largest military budget in the world. We put the most technological pieces of equipment out there, so it's not surprising that our military is what they're going to be interested in, the most advanced, the most powerful. If there was going to be any threat to them from a military, it would be our military that would be the one being the threat to them, more so than other militaries. But they still have them in other countries all over the world. They still run into these things. And like with the Nimitz in 2004, we weren't seeing these things on radar. The Nimitz got a new upgraded radar system. All of a sudden, they started seeing these things. More likely, they were there before, just our systems weren't capable of seeing them. We're actually seeing more and more video evidence of these things. We're seeing objects at ground level traveling at rapid speeds on slow motion, ultra high frame rate cameras that you would have never, they're going way too fast to be picked up on normal cameras. You would have to have an ultra high frame rate camera to be able to detect these objects moving thousands of miles an hour close to the ground. Now, the thing is, anything moving at that speed is going to create tremendous energy, because energy is the square of the velocity more than the mass. So the velocity has a lot more to do with the energy than the mass. So even a small object traveling very fast is going to impart a lot of energy. Well, these things have to be intelligently guided, otherwise they'd be crashing. You'd have explosions. They'd be crashing into things and creating. It would cause a lot of damage, but they're not. They don't crash into things. They just don't. And seems like they're intelligently guided. Seems like something is going on. Yeah, the Admiral Byrd Arctic expedition. Yeah, once you start going off the rabbit into things like that, into these other claims that are harder to verify, I don't know. I mean, probably not. Probably just a claim. That video, just a bird. Which one are you talking about? You talking about people have said that some of the one of the Navy videos that they're calling a bird. Um, that the idea that military radar operators and pilots would be incapable of distinguishing birds from potentially hostile craft, it really just doesn't seem like that's what's going on. I mean, imagine if they thought every bird was an enemy craft or possibly hostile craft. And again, these things have capabilities that birds don't have. These things fly higher than twice as high as any birds fly, some of them. And maybe some of them are birds. That could be true, but not all of them. These things fly twice as high as birds fly. They move much faster than birds. They can operate under the water for prolonged periods of time, traveling faster than submarines, resubmerge. Birds land on the water to pick up a fish. They don't actually go under for great lengths of time. But yeah, birds fly in the sky. Could some of these be birds? Yeah. Could some of these be mistaken commercial aircraft with some really unusual circumstances? Possibly. But to say that they're all that way, all of them are that, is I mean, it's a claim. I don't think it's what's going to pan out to be true. But again, we're also talking about these metallic orbs flying around that the Pentagon is showing pictures of. Those aren't birds. You can see they're not birds. They're not traveling like a bird travels. They're just not birds. People like Mick West thinks everything in the sky is a bird or a balloon, and I really don't think that's going to be the end. If that was the answer to all this, it would be very easy for them to put this to rest. It's all just balloons. Look, here's all the data. Here's everything we have. Nothing to see here. But that's not what they're doing. And not at all what's happening. They're saying, we don't know what it is, and you can't see the data. It's a threat to birds and commercial aircraft, not a threat to national security. There's something there they don't want us to see, and it goes beyond birds and misidentified commercial aircraft, even though that might be part of the equation. It is possible to misidentify things in the sky. Happens probably all the time. Probably most of the things people see in the sky that they don't understand have a legitimate explanation, but there are ones that don't. There are things that we see that don't have this prosaic explanation, and we have scientists working like these very skeptical scientists. They have like this aura of that they know more than all the scientists working for the government. Can't figure it out, but they were easily able to do it. In 5 minutes, I was able to debunk this. The government's been working on it for 20 years. If you think that really just is true and that you're satisfied with that explanation and it solves it for you, okay. Doesn't really make sense to me. Yeah, 37,000 feet birds could reach. No birds flying 80,000 feet. Nothing. No bird is flying that high. There are a few weather balloons that can reach that high. They're very expensive. They're not all over the place, but no birds fly that high. And they don't decelerate down rapidly like that either. Balloons don't do that. And these things also have the ability to hover. They can stay in one spot, which birds and balloons could, theoretically, but they tend to blow with the wind. These things hover in one spot, up high up in the atmosphere, low in the atmosphere. They're not being blown around by the winds. Yeah. Anyway, well, I certainly appreciate all you guys coming on, listening to my rant, all your comments. I realize that this is a topic that the skeptic community has a lot of hostility towards. It's because it's hard to come at it from a scientific perspective when there's so much data we're not being given, we're not being told. There's so much that we don't know. And the default position from science is always to doubt. And so that's why scientists have a very skeptical outlook on this. Hopefully, as we get more information, we'll get things more. We can get the government to be more transparent, to release more information. If there really is nothing to it, then there's nothing to it. Okay, all right, we're alone. We're alone. But let us see what they've got. These things seem to be displaying technology that is beyond human capabilities. There seems to be a concerted effort to keep this secret, to keep things secret. David Grush came out. He was tasked by the Geospatial Intelligence Agency to investigate this. He was interviewing people that work in the Department of Defense and the intelligence agency, trying to find information on this. He eventually had people come to him and say that there's program that he's not been given access to, and they started telling him about this program. Now, he admittedly he didn't have access to the program. He asked to be read into the program. He was denied. He is not on the program. He wasn't read in. He hasn't seen anything firsthand. But he interviewed over 40 witnesses at the Pentagon, at the Defense Department, intelligence agencies that told him about this. Consistent testimony. Consistent. So, what is this? People at the Pentagon saying this guy's a nut. Let's pull a prank on him and tell him about. We'll see if we can get him to believe anything. So they perjured themselves multiple times to get this story together, just to prank this guy because they think he's a doofus. Doesn't seem likely. Rumors, it's just rumors going around the Pentagon. It's not a real program. It's just this person says that it's rumors. Well, you'll discover that that's the case when you start interviewing people, because the stories will start to diverge. They'll separate. They'll break apart. And by the way, there have been 30 to 50 witnesses, many of them firsthand. These are people who say, I am on this program. So if they're lying, that's perjury. They're not just reporting a rumor. They're saying, I was on this program. And if you're interviewing 30 to 50 people saying they're on a program and the details are all the same, who runs the program? How is it funded? Who are your contacts in the Pentagon or the CIA, intelligence agencies? What outside contractors are you working with? Who's your contacts there? What are your procedures? How do you retrieve these craft? Who does it? Who's in your chain of command? What are the procedures for reverse engineering? Where are these craft being kept? How are they being kept? How are they transported? If these answers are consistent, then it really seems like there is something here. If they just go all over the place and you're getting completely different answers, well, okay, then it seems like this is just rumors. Nobody's actually working on a program because there is no program. It's just rumors. But if these details line up, and that's why the Inspector General, the intelligence community, was able to say that this complaint, this whistleblower report is credible and urgent, because it's corroborated by these other witnesses whose testimonies match. They add up. It seems like there's something here. Or either that or people are just perjuring themselves willy-nilly. They're breaking the law. They're risking going to prison. For what? What do they have to gain out of it? What do they have to gain? These people are not making money off of it. They're not writing books. These are just Defense Department or intelligence agency employees. They're working stiffs just like us. They've just been read onto a program that only a few people have been read in on. And most of the government does not know exists. It's been compartmentalized for a long time. And a lot of them, they want it to come out. They think we have a right to know. And that wall of secrecy is breaking. It's coming down. People are starting to talk. I think a lot of people expected this when the Grush thing came out in June. I think a lot of people expected that this would last a few months later, then it'll just go away, and no one will talk about it like it was in the past. But this story doesn't go away. Every week, every 2 weeks, something else comes forward, new information, new witnesses coming forward all the time, and it's affirming what the initial complaint was, what the core of what David Grush's statement was, is that there is this program to locate, to take these craft, and to reverse engineer them. And that's exactly what the government would do if they could. If they had access to this technology, yeah, they would try to get it and find out what it works before the other governments do the same. How much progress they've made on it? Well, I mean, that depends on the source. That depends on the source. People may remember a guy in the 90s, late 90s or early 90s, late 80s, Bob Lazar. He came out and said he worked in Area 51. He told reporters where they could see unusual craft flying around in the Nevada desert. They went out there, they did see these unusual craft. There are parts of his story that seem less corroborated than others. I'm not fully saying I'm 100% on board that he is legitimate. He might not be. He might have been a janitor there who heard things and is just reporting that. I don't know. He did work at the facility in some capacity. And it did seem like his college records were deleted by somebody, because he was claiming, I think he claimed he went to school at MIT. They called MIT, like, he's never went here. We don't have anything on him. But then they found pictures of him at MIT working with MIT people. Other people saying that he went to MIT with them. I mean, if this guy's just a nobody, why are they going through and trying to delete his history, delete his education records? Why are they doing that? If there's nothing to any of this, they shouldn't care. And well, that is in one part. A lot of these people have come forward over the years, and to some extent the government cares, but to some extent they don't. Okay. Yeah, thanks Ian. But in a lot of extent they don't care, right? Because the government knows that the scientific community they really only care about the physical evidence. That's it. They don't care about what you said or you say he said. They don't care. They want the physical evidence. So, and that's what they've been guarding. That's what they've kept close to them, the physical evidence, that data that they won't let us see. Because that's what the scientific community needs to see to consider this legit. That's what they can't have. They don't really care too much about what you say or what one guy who worked in the Defense Department or military says. To a certain extent, they don't. Depends on what they're saying. David Grush, it seems like they do care, because he's hitting real close to home, because like they released his records from his things to do with his mental health. He was a combat veteran. He had some PTSD issues that, were on his record. So he has some mental issues, but he was able to get psychiatric treatment for that, and he functions good. And he kept his security clearance. He kept his clearance. They did not deem him to be somebody who lost his mind, who wasn't capable of assimilating information, capable of making judge. He kept all his clearances. So apparently they didn't think there was anything mentally unstable or wrong with the guy. Yeah, I imagine over the next few months we're going to start to see he made his Inspector General report months before it came out. So I imagine we will start to see some of these new reports come out from the Inspector General. Like, where do I think this is going? I think that I would say I think 2024 is going to be 2024 2025 is going to be a huge year for this. I would expect probably sometime in mid 2024 you will have an acknowledgement from the ATIP program, Kirkpatrick's program, whatever he's running, that these UAP could represent a non-human. Not that they're sure, but they could. That's at least an option on the table. Um, I think that will be the next step to where this will go. And I think there's going to be a very gradual release of this information that reality, I think, is setting in that they're not going to be able to put this back in the box like they have been doing for 50 years. The questions aren't going to go away. There's enough out there now that if they could just make it go away, I don't think they can. So I think that reality is starting to set in that they will have to come to terms with it. And I'd be a little remiss if I didn't acknowledge. I think part of it, I do really think part of this is a sense of shame on behalf of some of these people. Like, what do we do? Do we just walk up to a microphone and say, yeah, we've been lying to you guys for 80 years. Yeah, we've known it since the 40s. Yeah. That there's that sense of shame, that reluctance to admit that not that you've been wrong, but that you've been intentionally lying to people, that you have made people look like fools. You have ruined people's careers to keep this secret. And that, by the way, has been their most effective means of secrecy. And keeping the secret is because it's not just denialism. You don't just deny it. Denial is one thing, but when you refuse to take it seriously, when you make it a joke, you make it sound stupid, and then nobody really wants to look into it. Nobody wants to do research. It's a joke. There's nothing here. You refuse to take it seriously. You create the stigma. That's been by far their most effective means of getting around this, getting around public scrutiny. Don't just deny, say we don't have anything, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know, and you're stupid for asking. How dare you? You're an idiot for even thinking such silliness, such stupidity. How dare you? It's like there was at one point some public interest in the UK in crop circles. There was some scientific inquiry into them. And all of a sudden, one day, the media had cameras on a field, and they woke up in the morning and they found a Ouija board in the middle of the field. They said, "Oh, okay, all right, pack it up, we're done." And they have never taken it seriously since. Never. You would not even believe that there is video of orbs making these circles because you can't find it. It's almost been scrubbed. You have to look hard to find that footage from the 1980s of lighted orbs making these circles at a time when to render that, the formation wasn't there one day, it was there the next day. To render that back then would have taken days. Like, from a visual effects perspective, it would have taken a long time to render that. You could do it maybe, but it would have taken time. You couldn't do it in one day. And but yeah, the next day they looked at the footage. Oh, here's these orbs. But I mean, nobody considers that because a couple of guys in their 60s came out and said, yeah, we made the circles. Meanwhile, when they tried to demonstrate those circles, they didn't really look anything like the real ones. Meanwhile, there are differences spotted between the circles, between the ones made by humans with boards. They can look at the plants, like the effect on the plants. It's different versus ones that they don't know are made by humans stepping on boards. There is a difference there. And whether that means it's legitimate or not. Anyway, that's just how they get around these things with ridicule, with stigmatizing, making it seem like you're dumb. There's nothing here. You're dumb for asking. How dare you ask? And the scientific community, they pick up on those cues. Like, yeah, this is stupid. There's nothing here. And then the government, which gives them a lot of the grant money, will give them grants to study something else. So they take the grant money and go study what the government wants them to study. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need scientists studying lots of things. It's just one way that they've perpetuated this secrecy, this wall of secrecy that is slowly coming down, that they're realizing they won't be able to maintain. Um, that they decided to erect a cabal, a few people in the 40s and 50s decided to keep this secret from us. And I think most of us we can understand initially why we would want to keep it secret, because we didn't know. Did we just come out and say, yeah, by the way, we there's these things flying around, they're not ours, they from Earth, they are way more technologically capable than we are. We can do about them or about them. Basically, after that could have caused him. So we want to keep on it for a while, see it, find out what you're dealing with. But they just never actually came to the point where they were ready to announce it, to come forward. They are probably taking steps to kill it, so just keep that going. They took these pieces of technology and they gave it to private companies, got it out of government hands. Therefore, yeah, hey, it's not, we don't have it anymore, so therefore they're not hiding it, right? And that's another thing, like people like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York, who is not known to be indulging conspiracy theories, a mainline Democrat from the state of New York, Senate Majority Leader on the Gang of Eight, who has access to most of our nation's highest secret, access to things far beyond what you and I have access to. He's taking it seriously. He's got a bill that would force these companies to disclose what any pieces of non-human technology they've been given. That's the Senate Majority Leader writing that into a bill. There has to be some basis for this. There has to be at least some reason for them to think private defense companies would have this stuff in their possession if it's making it into a bill sponsored by the Senate Majority Leader of the United States, Chuck Schumer. And that is really a bill that is putting forward. You don't do that if there's nothing there. If there really is nothing here, they would know about it, but they are taking it seriously. A previous Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, also a Democrat from the state of Nevada, he took it seriously. He had access to things we don't. He took it seriously. He helped get the modern program started to start studying this again in a more open way. United States Senator from Florida, Marco Rubio, Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman, he takes it seriously. He's on the Gang of Eight. He has access to more intelligence than we have access to. He believes there's something going on. So Barack Obama, President of the United States, he affirms that there are these things flying around and we do not know what they are. That's President of the United States, Barack Obama, saying we don't know. If it was a covert military project, he would know about that. If it was foreign tech adversarial, he would know about that. If it's things that the government has not briefed him on, then he wouldn't know about it. So have presidents been denied access to some of this information? I think, yeah, probably a lot of them have been. They probably have been limited in what they have access to. And you say, well, like, how would you do that? How would you keep something secret from a president? Well, it depends on how far they're willing to go to get the information, right? Out of the Pentagon, how many employees do you think are on the program have access to this? A handful, maybe 5, 6, 10, I don't know. Not everybody down. You would have to get that person before you and then order them to disclose this information to you. Otherwise, everybody else, they don't know. They're not written on the program. They're not lying to you when they say they don't know, when they treat this as there is nothing there. They don't know. So you have to find the very few people who have access to it and force them to give it to you. If you don't know who they are, well, I mean, hey, you'll never find out. And the this is probably the biggest secret the government has. Much greater level of secrecy than even like the nuclear launch codes. This is like the whole enchilada. This is that thing that they will never give up, because this technology, it's worth hundreds of trillions of dollars if it is what it appears to be. If these things are getting energy from space itself, from the environment, if they're able to draw that 0 point energy from the universe and harness it, that's worth tens or hundreds of trillions of dollars. And they've got it. It's theirs, and they don't want the rest of us to have access to it. It's theirs. They're controlling it, and they don't want us to see it, know about it. But it's ours. It's not just theirs. If this technology exists, if we have been given it by another race, if they have given it to us, then we all deserve to have the benefits of it, and we all deserve to have access to it. Maybe not. Should we have access to it all? Well, I mean, some aspects of it probably could be weaponized. You probably wouldn't want to release all that. But in terms of just the energy, the free energy, um, and that's, the people who control our energy sector today would probably really very much like that technology not to be released, because they are making a lot of money on fossil fuels. So they would like that money to keep coming. Thank you very much. And maybe when we run out of fossil fuels and they're out, maybe then we can have it. But as long as there's still oil to pump, gas to drill, then we're going to keep doing that. Maybe we can have this technology then. Maybe once we've heated the atmosphere up, to 110 degrees, maybe then we can have it. But but it's not just one incident though, Wayne. It's not just one incident of spherical things flying. We're seeing them all over the place. And if it was Russians or if it was Chinese or whatever, then just let us know about it. Tell us what it is. Why keep it secret? Why keep we have you can pull up pictures of Russian, Chinese planes and intelligence assets. You can pull those up on Google right now. Why this wall of secrecy about it? Why this why can't they let us know? It seems like there's something beyond that here. And be that aliens, be that some other form of non-human intelligence, be that what it may, it really just doesn't seem like it's Russians, all of it. If Putin had that kind of technology today, I don't think they'd be struggling the way they're struggling in Ukraine. If they had that technology in the 60s, we probably wouldn't have beat them to the moon. They probably would have beat us there, but they didn't. We beat them. And their technology actually began to start lagging in the late 60s, early 70s, where we eclipsed them. And their technology, they never were a serious threat to overtake us again after that. Well, it seems like there's something here. Yeah, we've been taught, we've been entrenched to doubt this topic, to just have so much doubt on this topic. It's been beaten into our heads for so long. It's understandable why everybody's afraid to touch it. Why there's just such a high level of doubt, and a lot of people they won't accept it until there's absolute smoking gun, overwhelming proof. Um, Basically, like the craft would have to be seen or land, and that'd be the only thing they would ever accept as um, proof. The standard of proof on this is the highest bar. You can't have a higher standard of proof on anything than this. It is set at absolute. Anything less for a lot of people than absolute smoking gun proof will not be sufficient. and that's a luxury that we rarely get. If you set that standard to anything, it's going to be very hard to meet. But I do believe we will eventually meet that standard. I do think we're going to have pretty overwhelming evidence at some point, even though I concede now it's not absolutely overwhelming. I think you can make a good case based upon a preponderance of the evidence, based upon multiple different lines of evidence. But any one thing is not absolutely overwhelming. It's not impossible that there could be something else going on. But yeah. B movie batshit bonkers. I mean, it is what it is, dog. I mean, if there's nothing there, I await evidence of that. I want to see it. If there's nothing there, I'll be the first to admit that there really is nothing here. Um, and like I concede, there's not overwhelming evidence of it. It's not an insurmountable amount of evidence. It is possible that there's something else going on. I just think a preponderance, more likely than not, that this seems to be the case. It seems to make sense to me. But the absence of evidence is not evidence. Well, I mean, that's true, except in cases where we would expect there to be evidence of it. We would expect that if something was flying through the skies that we've been looking at for 80 years, a physical, that we would have evidence, that we would be able to explain it, tell you who makes it, what it is, how it works, who makes it, how does it fly. The fact that we can't does not prove absolutely that it's aliens. It doesn't prove that, but it certainly leaves that door open. It certainly leaves that possibility undisturbed. I guess if you can see, if you go start from the outset, that is the most unlikely explanation, which I think most people, I think a lot of skeptics do. They look at that is the mantra is it's not aliens, it's never aliens, because every time we've detected a signal that they thought was aliens, they found another explanation for it. So it's not aliens, it's never aliens, it's never going to be aliens. I mean, I guess if you just want to play the odds, I mean, I guess how many people have been born and died fully in doubt, content to the end that they weren't here, it wasn't true, and then if they land tomorrow, well, I mean, hey, they still live their life thinking they were right, and we'll find out otherwise. Well, I mean, I'm not a physicist, dog, so I mean, I'm not a physicist. I have a very vague notions, but I look to physicists to tell me about physics more than I'm going to be explaining to you about physics. I do it very basically. Aliens have germs? I mean, possibly, yeah, they might. They might have found a way to eradicate them. I don't know. Or would you even want to eradicate them? Because we have a symbiotic relationship with some microbes that uh, is beneficial. So we probably wouldn't want to eradicate those. That's why you can get a little sick when you take antibiotics, because it can hurt the good ones. Thank you so much, Ian, for the super sticker. Um, well, I mean, Pete Town, here's the thing. Christians have always been uh, looking at events and putting them into perspective with their end times, their eschatology scenarios. They've always done that. Throughout time immemorial, Christians have looked at reality where they were, but tried to make it fit, right? And it never does. It never ends up being that way. It's never the end. So whatever scenario they were thinking was going to be the end was not the end. It didn't happen. It's never gotten us anywhere. Maya, yeah. Well, I mean, I imagine we will start to get more and more concrete evidence coming out in the coming months. As I said, there have been David Grush's report came out, which was found credible, even though he's not a first-hand witness. There have been 30 to 50 reports from some of them being first-hand witnesses, and when those come out, we'll just have to wait and see what they say. Um, oh, thank you, James Wolfe. I did all right. I'm never going to spike the ball, um, but once we start getting these other reports coming out from these other people who do claim direct knowledge and see what that says, then we'll really have a bearing on where this is going and if there's anything here. And if there's nothing here, there's nothing here. I'll come on and say I was wrong. You guys were right. Skeptic power. Just be skeptical about everything. But yeah, I guess we'll just wait and see what happens on that front. I don't think that's the way it's going to go. The story hasn't gone away. Yeah. Well, I mean, what the distraction narrative that always interests. They don't need to do that. They don't need to invent narratives to distract people. They can just go back to talking about Harry and Meghan. The government doesn't have to invent aliens to distract people from politics. People are so apathetic and ambivalent to politics already that you know you don't have you just entertain them. You give them pop culture. You give them memes. They latch onto it, and yeah, that's one of the, to me, I think anyway, the distraction narrative is one of the sillier narratives. The other narrative that I hear that's silly is, oh, this is just so the Defense Department can get more money to study this. They just want more money. They're making it look like it's alien so we can give them more money to study it. Well, no. If you know anything about politics in the United States, the Pentagon is often force-fed by Congress. That's where the Pentagon goes to Congress and says, this is what we need. And Congress says, yeah, no thanks. We're going to give you even more. We're going to force feed you. We're going to give you more than what you want. And yet, all this money is going into the Defense Department. Yet, I mean, our veterans' healthcare system is not anywhere near what it should be. Um, and I don't know if you look at our military bases, lots of them are dilapidated, old, they're unkept. Like, you have to ask, where's all this money going if we're force feeding, we're giving them all this money, and they're not really taking care of our troops, and they're not even really doing a great job maintaining their facilities. Um, yeah, a lot of it's going into black projects, reverse engineering, uh, alien craft. Anyway, uh, yeah. The thing about the Bible, Robert, is that the Bible is just so big. There's so much in it. It's written in such vague and poetic language that they can fit virtually anything into it. Almost anything they can put away. They can find a way to come. You want dinosaurs? Well, we'll find you. You want spaceships? We'll find you a spaceship. Anything you can imagine. Uh, yeah. Yeah, but dog, this technology we're not seeing like technology evolves, right? You see an evolution of technology over time, and we just don't see anti-gravity technology evolving. Where did that come from? Look at our planes, the ones that humans actually build that all rely on wings to maintain to keep themselves in the sky, wings. Um, you can go back down from the Wright brothers. You can see an evolution of plane technology over the years. Uh, where this anti gravity technology come from? These orbs that fly around, no wings, no wings. How are they maintaining lift? Um, and you can fly a brick if you can fly it fast enough, but some of these orbs, some of them are not going all that fast at all. Like they're trying to monitor something that's going on. Um, Some of these objects go extremely fast. So it seems like they have both capabilities to go very fast, very slow, or even to hover, to stay in one spot regardless of the wind. Yeah, what I mean, and that's the thing. What, like, planes can't fly. I think it was like 3 or 4 years before the Wright brothers flew. Lord Kelvin, a brilliant scientist, by the way, an amazing person, remarkable scientist, he said that heavier than air flight, space or air flight will never happen. It's a dream. It's a pipe dream. It'll never happen. Yeah, a few years later, it happened. Um, so when people say, talk about like, oh, we'll never be able to, go across the gulf between one solar system and the next. It can't happen. There's not going to be any technology that can do it. It's impossible. I mean, I have to be skeptical of that because anytime in the past, a lot of times we thought things were impossible, brilliant people thought things were impossible. We found out they weren't. And that's been the story of human history: innovation, breaking barriers, charting new territory, making new discoveries. And if you think that's going to stop now, like we've reached the pinnacle, we're not going to make any new great discoveries. We've got it all. We've got most of it figured out. Well, I mean, I don't think that's where it's gonna be. Yeah, dog, but yet, dog, we have pictures of orbs flying through combat space that the Pentagon has posted. The Pentagon is saying, look it up. Orbs, metallic orbs flying through combat zones. On Pentagon, on drone cameras. Our drone flying above a battlefield, seeing orbs fly through. It's happening a lot. And the Pentagon doesn't know what it is. So again, doesn't mean aliens, but what is it? What is flying through our skies? These metallic orbs, these cubes that we're seeing, black cubes inside clear spheres flying through the sky. Who makes those? What could they be made for? Yeah, Thunderfoot. I mean, he really does make an effort. He really does make an effort to debunk this. It's just all birds is his answer. I mean, okay, I don't think that's. But he'll actually come out and say, yeah, the military, they're incompetent, they're dumb, they don't know what they're talking about. Kind of like Mick West does, but Mick West kind of is a little bit more diplomatic about it. He'll come out and say, yeah, they're incompetent, they don't know what they're doing. Cloaking devices, so I cannot see why aliens can't. I mean, I don't think it's that they can't. I think that it's at some level that they want us to see them. I think that we are being gradually introduced to their presence. I think, could they be completely conceal themselves from us? I think they could. Yeah, I think they're intentionally making themselves visible, letting us put the pieces together to figure out that they're here. Kind of a little bit on our own, so that it will not be so shocking when they come in an overt way, like just landing. Imagine if we went from complete doubt to complete absolute confirmation one day. How shocking would that be and disruptive to our society? I think we're being slowly indoctrinated, slowly acclimated to their presence. The same way that we would do to an uncontacted tribe. We don't just show up anymore. We don't just come, show up like they did back in the age of exploration. And because those types of contact situations don't always end up good, especially not for the less advanced civilization. If there is an advanced alien race, they would probably understand that. They would probably want to reveal themselves in the least disruptive way possible than just showing up and saying, by the way, we're here. So I do think we are being very slowly acclimated to their presence. I do think that they have been, a lot of these craft, by the way, some of them are not crashed. I think some of them have been found intact. I think they've been given to us to see what we do with them, see if what we're able to figure out about them, and what we do with the technology. Do we weaponize it, or what do we do with it? I think in some ways we're being tested by these whoever's the intelligence behind these beings, which may, by the way, not be who we're seeing. They may not be these grays or what we're getting reports of. Many reports say those are artificial organisms. They're not real. They're not flesh and blood like the gray aliens. They are created. They could be created by beings that live far away and to do their science and reconnaissance work for them. They could be created to sort of look like us so that we're not too startled by their presence. I don't know. Well, a lot of this is based on conjecture. We just don't know. So you start with the basics of what we do know, and then you can branch off from that. And you can conject, and you can get pretty far from it. But at the core, there still is something here. There still is something going on in the skies that we can't explain in a normal way. There is something happening, and yeah, seems to be what's going on to me. Can't prove it. Don't have great evidence for it yet. But stay open-minded. See what happens. See what comes out in the next year. Don't be surprised. Be willing to accept things that challenge your viewpoint. We know that there are things flying in our skies that we have been trying to identify for 80 years, and they're telling us we can't identify it. We know there's lots of data collected on these that they're not letting us see. They're telling us they don't know. You think there's something flying around up there for 80 years that we see physically manifesting in the universe, and we still don't have any idea what it is? Doesn't seem likely. What do they have to hide? What do they have to hide? Is it foreign tech? Why would they not tell us? I mean, no. The military does not need to fake aliens to waste money. The military is more than capable of wasting money on wars, on doing anything they want to do. They don't need to fake aliens. They're more than capable of faking, causing conflicts to start. Metaphysics. I don't know what you say about metaphysics, but I would just say that I believe in physics. I think there's physics we don't completely understand, but yeah, I don't know what metaphysics is. When the universe forces are united. Well, dog, I don't think the government's flying these metallic orbs. I think somebody else is. It's not the government. Okay, this is a technology beyond what we have. Technology beyond our capabilities. Yet they're there. Okay? They are there. If you can come up with a reasonable explanation for them, go ahead. But so far, we haven't been able to do that. I mean, the military mostly they're not even the ones talking about this. I mean, New Age. I really try. I don't get too deep into that, Goff. You know, I try to keep this as close to the natural world as possible, close to reality. So I try to stick with like the basics, with what we know at a base level. And it may be aliens, Bruce. It may be. Yeah, you never know, Robert. I may end up disappearing, but yeah. I appreciate you guys listening to my rant and coming on and giving your opinions, your take on it. Um, let's see. Infinite multidimensional oscillating quantum field theory that our space time is just a fraction of. Yeah, I mean, hey, great. I'm definitely open to there being. I think the natural world is going to be a lot bigger than what we realize right now. Um, I think physics is going to encompass a lot more than what we realize right now, but I wouldn't consider that to be like metaphysics or supernatural. I just think there's so much about the natural world we don't still understand. Yeah, Daryl. I mean, I imagine probably most people in the military haven't. I imagine that these things are so heavily compartmentalized. These things are so uh, guarded that there probably are only a few people that have like all the pieces, and there's a lot of people there probably working on this stuff who don't know, who don't know what they're working on. Just like with the Manhattan Project, there were people making parts for the atomic bomb who didn't know what they were doing because it was compartmentalized. They're just making one piece of a complicated machine, and they don't know what the whole machine is going to do. There's probably only a handful of people who have that knowledge, and that's how you keep things secret. Only a few people have only a few people have all the answers, and they're not talking. They're not talking. Like Michio Kaku said, those who know don't say, and those who say don't know. And that's what we've been seeing so far. What's infinitely more plausible than aliens? Well, yeah, and I get that. Like people think that aliens is always the least plausible explanation. Everything else is always more plausible. It's never aliens. I get it. You're not going to accept it until there's absolute overwhelming smoking gun proof. That's okay. That's fine. You're entitled to assign whatever burden of proof that you want. You can assign any burden of proof to anything that you want, not be satisfied until it's met. You're not a subscriber anymore, dog? Well, I mean, I would say you could be a subscriber, but if you don't subscribe because of this, then okay. Have a good night, dog. But if anyone has anything else that they want to add, go ahead. And see what's going on. Then I'll head off to bed. I, like the rest of us, have to get up and participate in capitalism tomorrow. So, sentient universe. I mean, I don't know. That's just. I don't think so. I think the universe is just a thing, and that there's beings in it, and yeah. So guys, I'm sorry tonight, Amy. had to go to bed early. She was not able to be with us tonight, so she could probably be on here offering a much more balanced, much more skeptical approach that she is known to do. But unfortunately, she will be getting up for work in a few hours, and she does require sleep, so you guys got the short end of that stick tonight. But yeah, it has been fun to be on, at least tell you what I think. And if I realize a lot of you people don't agree, and that's okay. We don't have to agree on everything. I think we can agree on probably 90%. There are a few things that we will disagree on, and that's fine. We're not all going to agree on everything. Amy sleeping cam, what a rip. Hey, I guess, yeah, maybe she could do that. Maybe people would pay for a camera to watch her sleep. Alien slavery at any point. I'm sorry about that, dog. They're usually pretty they're usually pretty tame, but I don't know what happened, so I haven't seen it. But anyhow, I'm sure we can work it out. I'm sure maybe I don't know. If you're mad and you don't want to subscribe, that's fine. Anyway, well, guys, it was fun. I want to thank you guys for coming on. If you disagree with me, that's fine. I realize probably most of you do. I know I'm getting it from both ends on this one, getting the Christians on one end and the skeptics on the other. So I'm kind of in the middle, taking it from both ends, like Amy actually. So I guess I can relate to her now. But this is something I chose to do, knowing that was going to be the case. I don't expect to convince you guys. I don't expect you guys all to drop your skeptic card and come on board and think that it's aliens. But I just ask you guys to keep an open mind and see what happens. Be open to the possibility of that. Like I'm open to the possibility that it's not. And if that's the case, it's not the case. And I'll be the first to come on and say, hey, I was wrong. You guys were right. I'm back on fully on board Team Skeptic. But that hasn't happened yet. It doesn't look like it's going to. But hey, just keep an open mind. That's all that I'm asking. That's all that everybody's asking. Yeah, a different perspective. Yeah, I'm not gonna. We don't try to browbeat or force anybody to change their mind or whatever. Say that. There's so much that we don't. This could be a simulation, and they could just be other parts of the simulation that have hacked it and figured out how to go anywhere they want to go. And maybe that's the truth. There's so much we don't know. We just have to be open to it, and not so open that your brain falls out and you accept just anything based on virtually anything. No, not quite that open, but at least be prepared to see where reality takes you, and don't be afraid. There's nothing to be afraid of. If these beings are out there, if they wanted to kill us, destroy us, they could easily do that. If they have the technology to be here, they could do that. Obviously, they're not completely malevolent, even though certain elements of it might be. But they're not demons. They're not devils. If they are there, they appear just to be biological organisms like us that evolved on another planet and are exploring the galaxy that we happen to also inhabit. They've came across us, are acclimating us to their presence, and they want to do that is as least disruptive and harmful to us as possible. That seems to be what they're doing. So that does give points to them being not totally evil. Otherwise, they could just come down and enslave us if that's what they want to do. They wouldn't have to do anything else. They wouldn't have to go skulking around. They wouldn't have to do any of that. No evidence of Satan. These things are preoccupied with our military. They're focused on what our military capabilities are, not what the church is doing, not what anything else is happening. Um, as far as like poltergeist moving people's car keys and turning their TV on in the middle of the night. I don't know anything about any of that. Doesn't seem diabolically malevolent either, like it's from a demon, but it doesn't seem like something that flesh and blood aliens would do either. Just my take on it, guys. But I really appreciate you guys being here. I'm sorry that I flew solo tonight, that Amy wasn't with us, but she'll be back probably on Sunday. She does her Sunday show, so you guys can look to see her then. And yeah, thanks so much, guys, and have a great night. Thanks for being part of the Listening to Me rant.